I will sell this to Chief. He demanded for it.
In the quiet, wealthy neighborhood of Graceland Estate, there lived a woman named Madame Chica. She was beautiful, too beautiful for a meat seller. Her skin glowed like she bathed in honey, her lips were always red as blood, and her eyes had a strange calmness that made people uneasy. She lived alone in a large house at the very end of the estate, surrounded by tall flowers and neatly trimmed hedges. Nobody really knew where she came from. They only knew that every morning before sunrise, she would drive out in her black SUV and return just as the sun began to rise. By 7 a.m., the scent of fresh meat would fill the air around her compound. People loved her meat. It was soft, reddish, and somehow tasted sweeter than what they got in the market. Even the rich families who usually sent their cooks to shop at supermarkets started coming directly to her gate. She was polite, always smiling, and never shouted like other market women. But there was something strange. She never allowed anyone inside her house. Not even to use the restroom. She always sold her meat outside, at the small table just by her gate. The moment the last customer left, she would quickly wipe the table, spray something around it, and disappear inside. Then one day, Mrs. Evelyn, a curious neighbor, noticed something. It was past midnight when she woke up to get water from the kitchen. From her window, she could see Madame Chica's compound across the street. There was light coming from the backyard. She leaned closer and squinted. What she saw froze her. A human arm. Yes, a human arm. A metal hook behind the house. Mrs. Evelyn blinked, thinking maybe she was half asleep. But then she saw another, and another. A man's was lying on the table as if ready to be cut open. She gasped and stepped back, knocking over her glass. The sound echoed in the silence. When she looked again, the light was off. The backyard was empty. The next morning, she told her husband, who laughed it off. "Evelyn, you're watching too many horror movies. How can a fine woman like that be selling human meat?" But that evening, when Mrs. Evelyn went to buy meat from Madame Chica's gate, she froze. On the table, neatly arranged, was a slab of meat that had a familiar mark, a small tattoo. A tattoo she had seen before. Her husband had that same mark on his left shoulder. She looked up slowly, trembling. Madame Chica smiled sweetly and said, "Madame Evelyn, you came just in time. This one is extra fresh." Mrs. Evelyn's heart stopped. In the quiet, luxurious neighborhood of Graceland Estate, everyone spoke of Madame Chica, the beautiful woman who sold the freshest meat in town. She wasn't like the others who shouted by the roadside or stained their wrappers with. No, she was elegant, calm, and had the poise of a queen. Her skin shone, her perfume filled the air, and her smile made people forget their questions. She lived alone in a massive white house at the very end of the estate, where the streetlights barely reached at night. No one ever saw her with a husband, family, or friend. Still, people came to her gate daily. Bankers, housewives, drivers, cooks, all drawn to her irresistible meat. They said her meat was different. Soft, rich in color, never too dry, never too tough. But no one asked how she managed to get such fresh supplies every day. Every morning at 4 a.m., a faint humming sound echoed from her backyard. Some said she prayed. Others said she sang to her ancestors. By 6 a.m., the air would already smell of iron and smoke. By 7, she'd open her black gate and arrange her meat neatly on a clean wooden table. "Good morning, my customers," she would say with her gentle smile. "Today's meat is fresh. I promise you'll love it." No one ever saw her leave the house except before dawn. No one ever saw her return either, only the rumble of her SUV and the slam of her gate. One night, Mrs. Evelyn, who lived just across the street, couldn't sleep. Her husband hadn't come home since morning. His phone was switched off, and she was starting to panic. She sat by the window, waiting, hoping to hear his car horn. Then she noticed something unusual. There was light at the back of Madame Chica's house, bright, white, and flickering. Curiosity got the better of her. She leaned closer, parting her curtains. At first, she saw nothing but shadows. Then her eyes adjusted. A table. A long metallic table. And on it, something covered with a white sheet. Madame Chica was standing beside it, humming softly. Her face looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, as she lifted a knife longer than Evelyn's arm. She pulled the sheet away. Evelyn's ran cold. It was a man, motionless, and his left shoulder, had the same small tattoo as her husband's. For a moment, Evelyn couldn't breathe. She stumbled back, clutching her chest, tears streaming down her face. "No, no, that's not possible," she whispered. Then Madame Chica looked up, directly at the window. Her lips curved into a calm, slow smile, as if she had known all along that someone was watching. The light suddenly went off. By morning, Evelyn's door was open. Her car was still in the driveway, and the television was on. But no one saw her again. That afternoon, the estate was unusually quiet. When Madame Chica opened her gate to sell meat, the air carried a strange, sweet scent. People still came, hesitant at first, but unable to resist. "Where's Madame Evelyn?" one of the women asked casually as she handed over money. Madame Chica smiled gently, arranging a new slab of meat on the table. "Oh, she came to see me early this morning," she said softly. "She wanted the freshest cut." Weeks passed. Missing person posters began appearing around town. First Mr. Evelyn, then his wife, then a young driver who used to deliver goods to Madame Chica. People whispered, but no one dared confront her. Her charm was disarming, her beauty distracting. One evening, a new security guard, young, strong, and unafraid, was assigned to patrol Graceland Estate. He noticed something strange about Madame Chica's house. Every night, black smoke rose from her backyard, though there was no fire visible. He decided to check it out. When he peeped through the fence hole, his flashlight caught a glimpse of several meat hooks hanging in a row. On them dangled shapes too large, too human, to be goat or cow. He gasped and stepped back in fear. But before he could run, a soft voice spoke behind him. "You shouldn't have looked." He turned around. Madame Chica was standing there, barefoot, wearing a red wrapper soaked in something dark. Her eyes were glowing faintly, like burning charcoal. "I told them not to come here at night," she whispered. "But humans never listen." The next morning, the new guard's uniform was found neatly folded beside the estate gate. His was never found. That was 3 years ago. Today, her house still stands at the end of the street. The walls are freshly painted, the flowers well trimmed, and the same sweet scent fills the air each morning. People still go there to buy meat. They still talk about how soft, fresh, and sweet it tastes. But if you ever visit Graceland Estate and someone offers to take you to the woman who sells the best meat in town, don't go. Because no one really knows what kind of meat she sells, and the few who found out never lived to tell the story.